In the last video, we derived the cosine rule. So we looked at a triangle with the angles A, B, and C and the side lengths A, B, and C, and we introduced x and the perpendicular height h, and we manipulated the numbers until we arrived at this result. We said that c squared is equal to, so that's the side length c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos c. Now, that's actually not the way that it's written on your data sheet because of a really important thing to remember, and that is that I have arbitrarily labelled these corners A, B, and C. Which corner is A and which corner is B and which corner is C does not actually matter. So I could have just as easily, and I'll use a different colour for this, I could have just as easily said, let's make that A, and that B, and that C, and then this would have been side length A, that would have been side length B, and that would have been side length C. It's just a way of labeling the different sides. It doesn't actually matter. So the way it's written on your data sheet is the way that I've labeled it in that green marker now, where they've just put A in the position of C and swapped those around. So the way it's written on your data sheet is that the side length A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of a. Now that means exactly the same thing as the last one. It's just that they've swapped, every time there's an a they've swapped it for a c, and every time there's a c they've swapped it for an a, but it means exactly the same thing. Now you might ask then, when you're using this formula, does it make any difference what side lengths and angles you put in the positions of A, B, and C in this formula? And the answer is not really, but kind of, and I'll explain. It doesn't matter, like we just saw, it doesn't matter what exactly is A and what's B and what's C. The important thing that you have to remember when you're using this formula is that every angle is opposite its corresponding side length. So the angle labelled A is opposite the side length labelled A. And the reason why that's important is because you have to make sure that whatever side length you put in this position of the formula, it's the side length that is opposite the angle that you're using in your formula. So in this formula, you've got 3 side lengths and 1 angle. And you must make sure that the angle is the one opposite this side length, not the one that you put in either of these two positions. But which one you put as B and which one you put as C, I guess it doesn't really matter. Now in this video, now that I've explained that, that's the one important thing I wanted to explain in this video of how to use the formula, and hopefully that will become extra clear in the next video when we go through a couple of examples. The other thing I wanted to do is think of, what if we were given an angle to find? So let's say the unknown in a question was the angle, and we had the 3 other side lengths, and we wanted to use that to find what the angle was. So let's just see, we're going to rearrange this formula to get something in terms of the cosine of A. So let's see what that'll look like. First, we're going to get rid of, so we want to isolate cosine of A and get everything else over to the other side. So first, we're going to take B squared and take C squared from both sides to get these things over there. So we get that A squared take B squared take C squared equals negative 2bc cos A. So I've taken these two and moved them over by minusing them from both sides of the equation. Now I just want to spend one step getting rid of this negative. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by -1. As I do that, I'm also going to just flip the sides of the equation to make it easier. So I get that 2bc cos A is going to equal, so everything here is just going to be multiplied by -1. So we're going to get negative A squared plus B squared plus C squared, which I'm just going to write slightly differently. I'm going to write that as B squared plus C squared take A squared. Okay, so these two mean exactly the same thing. I've just swapped the order. Now let's get rid of this 2bc by minusing 2bc from both sides. So I get that cos A equals b squared plus c squared, take a squared divided by 2bc. And that is our other important result or formula. It's also on your formula sheet. And in the next video, we're going to look at two examples, one using this formula and one using that one. Remembering that when we use this formula, we are going to find an angle, of course, by using the inverse cosine.